You ever think about quitting?
Is the combat of life hammering the snot out of you?
Well, stand by, dig in deep, and get ready to get fired up with us.
Welcome to the Team Never Quit podcast, the #1 podcast that inspires you to fight on. I'm your host, David Rutherford, here with Mr. Never Quit himself, Marcus Luttrell.
Our mission is to help you embrace the suck of life, to teach you the values of working your ass off, and to interview the most hard-charging people on planet Earth.
We know life is hard. It's time for you to suck it up, Buttercup, and let us teach you to persevere in every environment imaginable by sharing real-world lessons learned by those who never quit. That's right. It's time, Marcus, for us to help them defeat the negative insurgency in their lives.
You fire me up. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. I gotta tell you, man, when I think about, you know, the guy that's coming on today's show, it boggles my mind.
I'm excited too.
I mean,
I grew up in that world.
Totally.
My mother's on that side of the family, so it's going to be a good time to go down and pass like that, especially with one of its greats.
One of its, I mean,
the greatest.
Yeah. I mean, he's considered the Michael Jordan of the bull riding world, right? I mean, you can't beat that. But
what does that tell you?
What does that tell you? All right. Well, but before we get there, slow down, right? Because I'm itching to jump on that bull right now, get it going. But let's slow down and just start where we need to start. We just want to welcome all of our listeners to the Team Never Quit podcast, right? I mean, this is the place to come for the greatest never quit stories, because these stories are the true stories that will ignite the legend in you, that will allow you to come out of your shell, to overcome the obstacles of life, to face adversity, and to dig deep and to realize that, guess what? We all have what it takes to never quit, right, Marcus?
That's it. Born with it. No matter what.
No matter what.
No matter what.
So one of the greatest things that totally unifies us is the fact that we all have it. It's inside us, isn't it? The never quit spirit's in every one of us.
Sure. I mean, we both believe that. Everybody on here does. You already have it inside of you. I mean, and you either find it by yourself or you find it with other people, through other people.
Through other people, right? And that's what our mission is here today, to bring on those other people onto the show, these great human beings, or human beings that are just like you and I, that have somehow dug deep and found the ability to never quit in the most extreme circumstances you can imagine. And so that's what our mission is. And if you want to, become a regular guest, go ahead and go to the website, or a regular subscriber, go to the website at teamneverquit.com/podcast and subscribe to our newsletter, to our show, and where you can have our shows on demand. And if that's not a place and you prefer to be on the move and on the go, and you can still do it on your smartphone, you can still listen on the smartphone at the same through your same browser. Just go to teamneverquit.com/podcast, pick your show and roll. If you like iTunes, which so many people out there do, go to your iTunes podcasting app, subscribe to our show, and you'll have us on demand any day of the week. When you drive into work, when you're in the gym, fire us up, or the show that inspires you the most, and listen to Marcus and I and our guests help inspire you to really learn the never quit mindset. I mean, that's why we're doing this, right, Marcus?
Absolutely.
Now, before we jump into the interview, we're going to talk right now about a historical moment. And we like to do these little historical moments about to get you prepped and get you prepared for the person that's coming on. So today's historical figure in particular is a gentleman by the name of Denny Flynn. All right, Denny Flynn was inducted into the Rodeo Hall of Fame in 2010. Now, this guy...
I just said tough bastard.
And you know how, you get that... The gold coat at the NFL, or you get the bus at the Major League Baseball, whatever. When you get inducted to the Rodeo Hall of Fame, those guys get beaten down.
I mean, it's like Valhalla, right? I mean, because it's the toughest sport on the planet. Those guys that go in that Hall of Fame is just that's the toughest they come right there. Good Lord.
Well, if you don't know about Denny Flynn, there's a great video about him on the ProRodeoHallOfFame.com website. Now, Denny's a guy that never actually won a world title, but the guy, he finished third three times. He got second a bunch of times. He's got the second highest rated score in pro rodeo history, right? With a score of 92 on a bull named Ed Pivick out of Cheyenne, Wyoming, back in 1974, and that record held for 15 years. Marcus.
Yeah, look, I mean, you hear names in every sport and everything, and then some of them, when they break through that barrier, they cross over, and then you got to appreciate country boys and country and how we, our music, because look, he never won that world title, but some of them guys did, and some of them did. When they start writing songs about you, I mean, Don Gray, Jim Sharp. I mean, he's in that league. With them ball boys, you just hear, and you will hear, because it resonates. That's how that, I mean, we live to tell those stories and hear those stories, and they resonate to generations. My son will hear about them on down the line. So, yeah, man.
And that's why we keep bringing these historical moments back, right? To pass on these.
Sure, I mean, what he does.
Plus, he was a tough bastard,
right?
Too.
And what
I
he
mean,
did, look, you just pull bull riding aside. Pull that out of the equation
check,
and
Roger,
just kind of what kind of guy he is, right? Just no matter what he did, and think about it like that. If it was a completely different job or completely different sport, whatever it was, he would take a beating like that to keep doing the job
that he loved doing.
Right.
I mean, there's one story about him where he had in a competition where he's going to have to ride 10 times, right?
Yeah.
He broke, or 9 times. He broke his ankle on his 8th ride, got it casted. And then for his 10th ride, he rode with a cast on his ankle. Right? There was a whole nother incident where he was almost gored to death in a rodeo, and the guy walked off the.
Those cowboys are tough, man. Look, there's certain things you can look for.
Well, what makes them so tough? Tell me, what do you think?
That's the same thing they ask us in our community. What makes them I don't know, a strong mama, I guess. That's got to be it, right? A strong mother.
Well, I'll tell you what, with a guy we're bringing on today, I mean, this guy, I mean, he is tough, right?
Right.
I mean, he's actually tough. And so hopefully he's
his mama knew he was so damn tough, he just went ahead and named it. What does that tell you?
It'd be like if your name was Hard Luttrell.
Right. I mean, this dude must come from rough stock. You want to cross, it's kind of like those MMA. Look, when we guys walk in, you immediately size him up, right? You check the ears out. They got those cauliflower ears. You know he's got something on him, man. Them old cowboys the same way. Their whole body just looks tough. Right? Oh, rusty ass hands.
The way they walk.
Yeah, man. They're like, good God.
They saunter,
right.
man.
Anything that gets on the back of a 2,000-pound pissed off animal, man, is somebody you don't want that is determined. You probably don't want to tangle with.
Furthermore, there's just something about him that is unique. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to find out, Marcus, because we're about ready to have on the Michael Jordan of bull riding, and this incredible dude. So I'm super fired up, man, to welcome. Let's get him on the air, shall we? Well, I'll tell you what, Marcus, one of the things that I love about coming to the TNQ headquarters, the podcast headquarters, because I come to Texas, and there's something that in Texas makes me, I don't know what it is. It's that old school Texas mentality. It's the cowboy. It's when you talk about going hunting, when you talk about, the horses, and you talk about just being from Texas and living the Texas life,
just
right?
living,
It gets inside me and gets me, I don't know, man, because, I grew up in South Florida where the retirees are, right? I grew up where you go to the beach and people lay around on the beach. But here, people are living. They get outside. They push themselves.
It's because we don't have a beach.
But what you do have are rodeos. You got that cowboy heritage. You got what makes.
Just to sum up what you're trying to say, man. You got to find something for the damn toughest we got. Them old cowboys and rusty hands, some bitches just can't find nothing meaner than them. All right, to find There's a sport that exists and a life that exists to occupy their time. And that's the dude we got to have on here today.
And that's who we got.
So everybody that we bring on that I personally know obviously affects me in some way and provides a strength for a weakness I have. Right. You're about to meet one of them.
Well, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I am so honored and privileged to meet what many consider to be the greatest rodeo rider in history, Mr. Tuff Hedeman. Tuff, welcome to the show with us.
Thank you. How y'all doing today?
Oh, man, glorious. So now I'm surrounded by cowboys right now. I mean, that's pretty awesome right now.
I'm just looking forward for he's proud of that South Florida deal. And I just can't wait for him
to be officially like I live in Texas.
He never met nobody like this dude, man. You never met nobody like this dude.
Well, it's so funny, and then we were chatting a little bit about Tuff when we were thinking about who's on the short list for this show. I'm like, all right, I got to bring some people to the table. And I didn't know that Marcus and y'all were friends. So I went out to my buddy, Dave Corlew, Charlie Daniels' manager. And I said, I was telling him about, he goes, who you got to have on a show? The baddest cowboy who's ever lived. And that's Tuff Hedeman. I go, who's Tuff Hedeman? He looked at me. He's like, what are you talking about?
I have conversations with people and they think, SEALs talk about, oh man, you guys, this, that, and the other. Well, the one unique thing about my perspective is we see how exceptional people are behind how tough they are.
How tough they are.
Exactly.
and tough, when
you're
people, the toughest.
Right, when people ask me and they're like, oh, I know. And I'm like, man, you ever even heard of a bull rider or a cowboy? And I start telling stories. I'm like, you don't know what tough is, man. You think I can handle some shit. These guys, and just see their face like I never even. So this is me connecting those people in my world that aren't connected with this. So you guys are gonna.
Well, one of the things that I love, and we'll get into some other things, but I mean, you are. I mean, you've won more championships in bull riding. You basically invented professional bull riding. You were, you won so many world champions. When all the stuff when I was reading about you, they compare you they call you the Michael Jordan of bull riding, Tuff. And I know you're probably a pretty humble guy. Marcus said you were, but that's a pretty amazing achievement. Do you love? I mean, that's pretty remarkable. You know that, right?
Well, I'm certainly proud of, I had a great career. I think it's a little overstated sometimes, I was very fortunate to, have a passion, for riding. I started riding when I was 4 years old, and the same feeling, the rush of adrenaline that shoots through you at 4 was the same feeling when I got on my last bull at 35, and it's just
cool.
It's a challenge, and but looking back, you say you're fortunate to be here. You don't know how you lived through it, and there's a couple of times that we're pretty iffy.
That's cool. That's cool. And we're gonna get to those. Let's get them warmed up, Marcus. We gotta get them warmed up. All right. So Tuff. What we do is when every guest that comes on, in order to limber up, right, in order to stretch out and get that prefrontal cortex firing on all cylinders, right. We put you through the Mad Minute. Right now, the Mad Minute is used to really get a lot of information out of people fast, right, and get brains working and all that. So we're gonna fire these questions at you, rapid fire. You give us the first thing that pops into your head, and just to get warmed up for what's coming next. You good to go on that?
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go.
You ask me a stupid question, I'll give you a stupid answer. How's
that? I love it.
We'll see. We're about to find out.
You might have to get the bar pretty low to get any quality answers.
No, trust me, brother. I already took this one, so
Marcus
was lower than I go.
Marcus was our first interview, so we set it low. All right, here you go.
Look who's writing the questions. Hey. Look who's writing the questions, brother. They're gonna be great.
All right, here you go. Ready? First question is, what if you could live in any era in history? What era in history would you live in?
I would have to be living like in the days of the westerns, the John Wayne, Lonesome Dove time period. Awesome. That looks to me like, watching Lonesome Dove, I actually was on the set when they were shooting. I got to meet Robert Duvall and got to be good friends with him. But watching that and just the way that you talk about toughness, what those guys had to do and endure to do what they wanted, it was pretty remarkable.
Awesome.
My brother got to go to the Lone Survivor reunion, Lonesome Dove reunion the other day up in where was that? SFA.
It was in Fort Worth.
Right. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I was there. It's so cool.
damn it.
Really, really cool.
You missed another
That's like
one.
a Texas thing it's a qual, man. I almost didn't marry Melanie. I mean, Melanie, if she wouldn't have seen Lonesome Dove, we couldn't get married.
That was a crazy.
It's a rite of passage, man. When it's raining or if it's on TV,
It's coming on. That's the go-to.
Matter of fact, I'm going to put a TV in the house that just plays that. I don't even know why I haven't done that.
All right, next question.
All right, Cadillac or Lincoln?
Cadillac.
All right, next question. If you had to get in a fight with one, who would you pick? John Wayne or Clint Eastwood?
Getting your ass kicked by John Wayne would be cooler than getting your ass kicked by Clint Eastwood.
Either one with my ass. I'd have a great time.
It'd be awesome. It'd be a boom.
Right.
Boom,
All right,
boom.
brother. More dangerous, an angry woman or an angry bull?
Oh, angry woman. Hell of a lot more dangerous.
I
And a lot
understand.
meaner.
Hey,
And,
you piss them off. They will get.
they never, once they get mad, they never get unmad.
It doesn't run out of them.
That's the way it goes.
All right. Here you go. Right. All right. What are you most afraid of?
Something happened to my kids.
Right on. That's
All right.
good.
Favorite superhero?
I'm not afraid of really anything happening to me, but
course
that's the
not.
only
Bull
fear.
rider.
That's the only fear that I really have is
That's a good
something
fear to
happening
have. I
them.
think all parents, and especially pops, we have it. It's in us, right?
Well, we can't control it.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Not to work.
and that's the scary part about
Right.
it.
I mean, and we live in a world that we don't control anyways, but we build up skills well enough to survive in it.
Ourselves.
Right. Our kids don't have that yet. That's the scary, bro. I'm on.
Yeah, and the thing is that you never really want your kids to go through a lot of the things that you had to go through
Pain.
that made you who you are and made you physically and mentally tougher than someone else.
Absolutely,
just because of the things you've endured. But you don't want that for your kids. But at the end of the day, they have to go through some of that.
Sure.
They got to take the pain too.
To
Well,
become
hey,
the real guy. I mean, I told both my boys, I said, you my older one's Lane and Trevor, and they're the highlight of my life. We
That's
talked
cool.
about a little bit about my career, but I'm much more proud of them than anything that I ever did.
God bless you.
But I said, when I went to college, I was the poorest kid in school. I drove down in a 1963 Buick. This was in '81. So everybody has their new trucks, new cars that they got for graduation. I've got this 20-year-old Buick that's about two city blocks long. But
Awesome.
But
It's
it was
not the
fine.
ride, it's the rider, man.
It got me from point A to point B, and it was good. But I told my sons, I said, I never want you to. I said, you'll never know what it feels like to go into a restaurant with your friends and tell them that you're not hungry, you already ate because you don't have any money.
Oh wow, that's
And
heavy.
You're too proud to say, hey, can you buy me something to eat?
Right.
You don't have enough to eat, and so when you're leaving, you reach and grab a handful of fries when they turn their head.
Oh man,
I said that's how I was when I was in college. I didn't have a lot of money. I was in
Same
school,
way,
and
man.
I would actually go work on ranches, during the day, work cattle or whatever, $50 to kind of get me through it. But looking back, it made me
you who you are.
made me tougher, stronger, and made me better.
He went to a college up in Sul Ross State. I had some of my crew went there, so
Right.
we'd have to do that drive. And my brother and I would fish through the parking lots to find some money to go buy 3 hush puppies at the Long John Silver for lunch. Man, same way. I never had so much fun in my life being as broke as we were in college. Everything went to pay for school.
Right.
And I mean, you want to talk about in the middle of nowhere? The best Mexico trip I ever had, though, was on. Never mind, that's their story.
That's a whole nother story.
Up Sul Ross is out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So you and cowboying up there, you go to school to cowboy up there. I mean, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
God, no,
That's
man.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, Tuff, the last question I was going to ask you was, what's your greatest achievement? But I think you've already shared with our listeners that it's your family,
Yeah, kids.
it's your children, it's your boys and your newborn, the people that are around you that you love. So, I mean, I don't even need to ask that one. So let's just get right in to the meat and potatoes of this show and why people come to our show as opposed to any other millions of the podcasts they can choose. is because they know when they come on, they listen, they download this show, they're going to get stuff that's going to potentially change your lives. And our slogan is great stories ignite legends. So, if you could share with our audience your greatest never quit story.
Well, probably, I rode professionally for 10 years and, never had any real serious injuries. And then I had a neck injury, which, I was paralyzed for about 20 minutes which that was probably the scariest moment of my life. And then I was off for a year and I didn't know whether I was going to be able to compete again at all. And so I went back to the doctor after a year and he said, "Hey, you look good. You're good to go." And, I said, "Can I ride?" And he said, "That's your decision. You're healthy." I had a plate in my neck, whatnot. So I came back and I'd already won, I'd won 3 championships previously, which I was proud of, but, I wasn't, in my mind, I wasn't done. And, riding bulls at the highest level, it's day in and day out, and there's just not very many people that have the stomach for that. But,
I'll say.
Unfortunately for me, I was just a slow learner. I couldn't get enough of it. Just the competing, the
like
challenge,
a drug, right? It's like a drug.
Yeah, exactly. The competing, the challenge, and winning. When you're winning, you're on top, you're doing well. I mean, there's no better high than that. So I came back and I started riding again in '95, and it's kind of like, it refreshed. I appreciate the fact that I was getting to do it. It's kind of like now that I have Riker, it's like another chance at life. I experienced that with my first 2 sons, but now I get to do it again. And that's kind of was my
new
career.
dose. Yeah.
I come back in '95 and I'm just, I rode with probably more effort, energy, passion, because I knew any day, you don't know when your career is going to end. It might end tomorrow, might end today, or it might end in 5 years. And that's bull riding. That's that life. You never know. And
the thing about it is, and here's the deal with that is the fact that people, when you hear bull riding, like you're a bull rider, they think you get up in the morning and you go into a training hall or a facility, train all day, and that the rodeo is right there at the stadium. I don't know how that works. And the nightmare of that life is what's behind the 8 seconds you're on the back of that thing that wants to kill you.
Yeah.
From the rodeo and to town, state, city to city, on nothing. Especially you guys, and I'm buddies with bull riders, mostly clowns, they're great. They had crazier than a freaking rodeo clean. That's tough.
Oh yeah, well a bullfighter, like, he'll have to face 40 to 60 bulls a night. Hell, I don't have to get on 1 or 2. So
all right, so you're back in, you're riding hard, you're winning again. And then what happens?
And then that was it. That was in '95. I get to the MGM. I'm in the lead for a world championship, and the last round, I draw a bull. It's branded J31. It's called Bodacious. Well, he was a monster that even the good guys were afraid of. I wasn't smart enough to be afraid of him.
He's dangerous.
I'd been on him a few times, and I always told my best friend, I said, I know I can ride him, but I had difficulty holding on to my rope. So, I said, if I can, what that means is you have to use more rosin, get it stickier, and you have to wrap your hand in a way that
it's not coming out.
Hey, if you come out, if your ass comes off or you come off, you're going to drag for a while. And it's
how big was Bodacious?
But that's the only way you can ride a bull.
How big was he?
He was about probably 1,900 pounds. But what he was athletic, and it would be like a defensive lineman playing corner.
Right,
he was big. But he was athletic.
Wait a minute. Playing quarterback in a peewee league.
but usually when they're that big, they don't have the quickness. They don't have the athletic ability. He was athletic for being that big, and he had grown. And I'd rode him previously. I'd rode him in '93 and still, it was the best ride that I ever made, because in order to ride him, you just had to do everything.
You got to go big.
It's that moment when everything comes together.
Yeah.
And so then I thought, so I get in the last round. I'm in the lead for a world championship, and in my mind, I'm fixing to kick ass. I've done it before on him. Like I said, even the good guys were afraid of him, but I just wasn't. I was excited about the challenge, because I thought, I'm gonna make the best ride I ever made. Well, the first jump, he developed kind of a habit where he'd kind of hesitate, and when a bull starts to take a jump, their front kind of comes up, and then they kick with their back feet. Right. And so in order to ride a bull like that, you kind of, there's one bull rider, he kind of describes it as a horse jump. When a horse goes to jump a fence, or in in equestrian jumping, as he's going forward, the rider has to go kind of go forward, kind of and kind of, because if you get leaned back, when they hit the ground and kick, they pull you down, and you'll hit them, and that's what we refer to as being jerked down. Bodacious jerked down lots and lots of people. Well, my style of riding, I never got jerked down. Okay. Never. Just because of my, the style that I rode with, I was always in a position where I wouldn't. But what happened on him, the second jump, he throws his head back. I mean, I'm right in the middle in the position you have to be to ride a bull, to ride him. And he throws his head back and just hits me in the face and just breaks everything. He crushes every. He
crushed your face.
He breaks every bone from my lip. I just crushed it, obliterated my nose. The funny thing is, it didn't do anything. Didn't do anything to my teeth or anything. But what is also kind of funny is that I never lost consciousness, and I remember every small detail of it.
That's today. Not funny, Tuff. That's not funny at all. I want to.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
So when I get up, I hit the ground, and I get up, and I'm on my hands and knees. I get up, they come out. Yeah, I stand up, I walk out, and blood's running everywhere, and a buddy of mine was walking next to me. His name was Bill Carnes, good friend of mine, and I said, I must have broke my jaw, because when I bite down, my teeth don't touch together. Right. And he just said,
"It's gonna be so hard to knock my teeth crooked."
So as I'm walking down, I see these people looking at me, and their reaction, they're like, I say, God, I must not look very good, because these guys, they're looking at me like I'm Frankenstein. So I turn. I'm going to go to the trainer's room where Dr. Freeman is. He's he's an orthopedic surgeon, one of the greatest doctors, smartest guys I've ever met. Right. But he said, "You're not coming in here. Get your ass in the ambulance." So I go to get in the ambulance, and the ambulance drivers, they're back watching the event. The ambulance was locked. So I sit down in a chair, and I'm looking up on a monitor, and I'm watching Troy Dunn ride. Right. But I'm sitting there. I could just feel my face kind of swelling, and I had to get my buddy Bill. I said, "Hey, you need to come help me dig these contacts out, because my eyes are about to swell shut." And I'm just talking to him matter of factly, And
I just need to make a point here.
The thing is, it really wasn't. If I watch it, it wasn't as painful. I guess the adrenaline is
still pumping through your veins, right?
And it wasn't until I sat. They got me in the ambulance, and I laid down. As soon as I laid down, and kind of relaxed a little bit, that's when it felt like somebody with a hammer was just pounding my head.
Oh my!
Repeatedly.
Look, and that's a perfect example of what humans are capable of when they get to a certain,
brother.
Right? And look, I just need to put this into perspective for people who don't understand what it is he just said.
Yeah,
okay,
help them understand it.
And if you watch the video, it's on TV. You can watch it on YouTube. Him getting hit. All right. Most people think if you've been hit in the face with a baseball bat, it's nothing compared, because you're someone's swinging at you. This 2,000-pound animal is bringing something that is harder than titanium, probably, in the same direction that your face is going.
Face.
And if you have you ever seen the Avengers when Hulk grabs Loki and just smacks him on the ground like that. That is basically the amount of power coming through that bull's face. I don't care if you've been in martial arts your whole life, and I have, and I've been kicked in the face so hard I thought my teeth went out of my ass, but they didn't. His teeth literally got hit so hard. It is awesome to watch him get hit like that, and then he took it. That ought to tell you about what kind of. Look, you can say whatever you want. You're humble. I get that, man. But what I see out of my eyes is how tough people are in any situation. And somebody who gets hit like that normally would die. You know, lay down there and die.
They would shut it down, quit, walk away.
Dude, no. They would just lay there. He got up and like, them old cowboys like, how'd I look? Did I look cool getting thrown? Like, seriously, don't tell me you don't think that. You're like, I got my ass thrown, but I look cool, right? It's because that's what it's
I was just thinking, I just blew a championship.
Yeah,
I was thinking I sucked.
That's what the champion in you was thinking, man. But the guy behind that's like, what'd that look like?
Holy shit.
And then you were sitting there watching that, man. But I've seen them bulls rear back like that, and to watch that hit, I mean, just to get hit like you've never been hit like that. That's my point. I guess I'm trying to make, right?
The question. All right. So everybody, like they're listening right now, Tuff, and they're going, my God, But the real interesting part of this is what happened next to you. You got in that, all of a sudden your face is a mess. What'd you have to endure after that?
Well, that was in the middle of October, and the National Finals rodeo, which is the biggest rodeo, as a cowboy,
it's big.
That's where you want to end up.
Right.
As I told my youngest son was thinking about riding bulls, and I didn't encourage him, nor did I discourage him. I said, if that's what you want to do,
let me show you how it's
fine.
done.
but what I did do is, I qualified for the national finals 12 times. I think there's only one other guy that qualified for more.
Wow.
I took him up, showed him. We have a truck room, and you have a back number, and you have a picture of the top 15 guys. And I said, every year, 1st of January, the year starts, and you've got probably 150 to 200 guys that are all going to qualify for the national finals. Well, they only take 15. It's like Marcus when I'm going to be a SEAL. Well, a lot of them.
A lot of guys want to do that.
To be a SEAL,
right? A lot of guys want to do that.
Not very many people make it.
Nope.
And that's just the reality of it. And I said, but I just want you to understand that. I said, these are the best 15 guys in the world that given year. And I said, the better you are, it lessens your chance of being, seriously injured or yada, yada. I said, but that doesn't mean shit. I said, so I'm going to show you. I said, and I pointed them out. I pointed out Lane Frost, Brent Thurman, Dwayne Keeley. I said, I watched every one of those guys die.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Less than 20 feet in front of me.
Yep.
And I said, and then you've got, Jerome Davis, he's in a wheelchair. This guy's in a wheelchair. I said, these are the best guys. And I said, I'm not telling you this to be negative or discouraging. So what I'm telling you is this shit is real.
Right.
And I said, any one ride can either change or end your life. And so if you're okay with that and you can accept that, then go.
That's what blows me. That's what blows me.
But just know what it is. This shit's real.
Well, that's
football. Look, football is huge. It blows me away because the way that, especially the human kind of condition, is around death. Right?
Yep.
They love the violence.
Well,
I guess it's because people don't really understand what a rodeo is. Because if you did, it would be bigger than NASCAR every time it was on. Because you're talking about a guy, right?
It's more intense.
No, there's
than
a guarantee
boxing.
somebody's going to die every time that bull comes out of the chute. I mean, there's a guarantee it could happen.
That's a chance you think. But the thing is, he said, what happened next? Well, they do reconstructive surgery. They got five or six titanium plates, and the national finals is 6 weeks later, less than 6 weeks later. I'm in the hospital for about a week. I fly home. I mean, my head had probably 3 times its normal size. My son Lane was 3 at the time. And it took me about 5 to 10 minutes to convince him that I was me when I got home because there was so much swelling. And I looked like a monster.
Yeah, hey, he referred to it as like it was messed up. I mean, your hair gets messed up. Man, your face was crushed, brother. How many bones you break in your face?
Every
All
one
of them.
I don't know. Every one of them.
Right. There's not. Well, my point is, man, there's not a lot of them. They're bigger. The maxillary, all that stuff like that, man. They're connected. So if you snap one of them in half, man, it's going to affect the others. And you took one right in the T, right in the T section, nose and
Just
mouth.
right here, nose. I didn't have a nose. They had to reconstruct the nose.
Oh my God!
But the thing is, as I'm sitting there when I wake up from surgery, and I mean my head is so big that it's literally at least 2 to 3 times its normal size. And I've got a drain too. What they did, they cut me like ear to ear, pulled my face down, then had to go in and try to reconstruct it. I went through 2 surgeries. It took about 13 half hours.
Oh my God!
Both surgeries.
Put it together, right?
And but the thing is that when I wake up and I look in, I go to take a leak, and I look and shit doesn't look very good. I said, well, I was ugly to begin with. I was hoping
it's an improvement.
I was hoping I was gonna come out looking like James Dean and be cool and shit, but I was still ugly.
Yeah.
But the worst, the thing is that the mentality that I had, and the mentality you have to have in that sport at that level, was that in 6 weeks I got to be well in less than 6 weeks.
There was never a time in that, like, you're like,
well, there's no contract team.
Back.
There's not a contract team, right? You don't play. You don't get paid. You just got to show up and ride, right? There's no.
I'm talking about it on a deeper level, though, bro, because you just skirted death, and you'd already watched your other friends die. You just skirted death, permanent brain damage, the whole deal, and all of a sudden now you're home. Your family doesn't recognize you. You're on the brink, but there's something inside you says, I gotta get to this competition. What was that? What was in your head?
I knew I had to be well. I got to be well enough to compete in less than 6 weeks. And my son Lane, he's sitting on my lap, and he was he would have been 4. He would have just turned 4 because Trevor had just been born in September. So Trevor's only a couple months old.
Mm-hmm.
And Lane sits up and he looks at me. He said, Dad, he said, Tuff, until he was like probably 10 years old, he never called me Dad. He called me Tuff. And he said, people would say, doesn't that offend you that he calls you Tuff? I said, I've been called worse than Tuff, dude. It doesn't matter to me. I was fine. He said, he looked at it and he said, Tuff, he said, if you draw bodacious again, you're going to have to chicken out. And I said,
no.
Okay. I said, all right, deal. But the whole thing, I'm just thinking, I just got to be well. I couldn't eat. You lose with that kind of injury, you lose all sense of smell.
Gone.
And so you don't have a sense of you don't have a sense of smell. You don't have you can't taste anything, and so then you have no appetite. So you try to force food down you. You try to drink whatever, Ensure or just whatever to try to, but the reality is that I lost when it came to the NFR is the first week of December. The Dr. Freeman, who's my most trusted doctor, he's one of my best friends. So, and I went and saw him. I said, can I ride? He said, he said I would talk to the surgeon that did the reconstruction. He was in Vegas. He said, but from what I see, it's totally up to you. You're obviously obviously weak, but because I'd lost nearly 26 pounds. I'd lost nearly 26 pounds, and I did.
Most people would take this. Most people in the world, Tuff, would take that as a wake up call to be like, all right, I'm done. I'm gonna quit. I don't need to go any further. I got my life. That's it. So what is driving you to get back in the ring?
That's because that's what I do. That's what I did. That was my life.
That's what you are. It's what
It wasn't even a consideration of, my mindset is when can I ride again? When can I?
Is it the competition, or is it you and the animal? Is it what is it?
For me is, I started riding when I was 4 years old, and that was what I wanted to do. And and once I realized that dream, like Mark said, it's like a dream. You can't get enough of it. You can't
Right.
You can't, winning one.
It's everything, right?
Winning one, if you win one, you want to win another. And it's just you're. I was addicted to all of it, and what it brought, it brought a career, turned into a career and a profession, and that's what I did. And so my mind is like, there's never even a consideration of I'm not going to do this anymore. It's like when can I get on? And so I go see the surgeon, and he says, if you feel like you can, then you can. He said, as far as your injury, he said, you know what? If you get hit in the face, it'll break and tear shit up. But if nothing had happened to you at all, you get hit in the face, it'd break and tear shit up too. So
those are awesome doctors. I love those guys.
We need to get those guys on speed dial.
It's not a big deal. He said but it's up to you. The one thing and I'm usually a pretty objective, realistic person in terms of, knowing my capabilities or, knowing what I'm not a big, I can do this, when in the back of my mind, I probably can't do it right now. Maybe I can do it later if I work at it, yada, yada. But this was probably one of the few times that I probably shouldn't have ridden, but I did. But the reality of it was, you get on 10 bulls at the national finals. I rode 5, and looking at the shape that I was in, I probably shouldn't have rode any.
Right.
Because I didn't have any strength. But it was just the one thing I always told myself is that it's okay not to win first. It's okay not to be the champion that day, that year. But the one thing that I couldn't live with, that I can't live with, is the fact that knowing that I quit, that I gave up. And so that was my daily thing, and whenever Lane Frost, and I became great friends, and he was very popular with everybody, and he always signed autographs, and people said, "Well, you didn't sign autographs." Well, I didn't sign autographs because people didn't ask me for my autograph. I was never, "Hey, buddy, you want my autograph?" kind of guy. But when people would start asking for them, it's funny when I see your show, is that I would always write, bear down, try hard, and never quit. And then in capital letters, I would put never, because that's the only reason that I ever had any success at what I did. And there were a lot of guys that were better than me, athletic, more talented. But when you ride bulls and you ride them at that level, it's kind of like, I don't know how to put it, maybe, but you kind of got to bullshit yourself just a little bit. In the, of course, you got to say,
just
what,
a little bit.
Just say, hey, you tell yourself, it's not that bad, and it's not that dangerous, because you have to focus on, riding bulls is like no different than him shooting a rifle, Steph Curry making a jump shot. It's fundamentals. What makes you good,
basics to perfection,
or good or bad or great. You have to do fundamentally, you have to do things correctly. And so riding bulls is the same thing. So if you're not focused on doing everything correctly and putting all the effort and energy with that, if you're thinking, oh, I could get hurt, I hope I don't get stepped on, I hope I don't get hit in the face, you can't worry about any of that shit, because your job is to make the whistle. Your job is to ride. And this is what I would.
Here's the thing.
This is what I would tell myself. This is how kind of whacked I am in that, because I would use more rosin. I would tie my hand in there like nobody would, because I always had difficulty hanging on my rope. Some guys have problems with it, some guys don't. It has something to do with your grip, but whatever. But I would tell myself, you know what? The worst thing that can happen to me today is that I can die. And I'm going to die one of these days anyway. So if this is it, this is
Might as well be something I love.
So just go do it. And that's kind of a screwed up way of thinking, but that's just, I wasn't afraid of dying. I wasn't afraid of being hurt. I would just say, hey, you know what? I would much rather die or be hurt than just give up. You see a lot of guys get on and, they just don't put out any effort to stay on. They just let go second, third, fourth jump. And I said, you know what? I would slit my wrist before I do that, before I jump off.
Right.
You know,
Right.
the last thing in my mind was just don't quit. That's it. That's the only asset I really had, was I just would not quit.
Well, that's the craziest thing about humans, is they fear death. And it's the one absolute that's coming. You're going to die.
Well, people compartmentalize it because they're taught to be afraid of death.
Well, they're afraid of pain.
They're afraid. You're right.
That's all it is. And the difference between the people who can live more life than people who can't is the amount of pain you can take. And I mean, that's the thing about it. And the great part of your never quit story is when you're talking about, yeah, you know what, man, I threw a little extra rosin on that rope and cinched in a little tighter because I wasn't afraid of death. And that's the way that's the stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to know about the song in your head that you start singing. And when you're talking about getting back on the bull after you get killed like that, it's the same way for everybody, no matter if you're that kind of person. So he's not he competes in bull riding, but he is a bull rider.
That's his identity.
Right. I mean, that's the reason you get back on. Not for the money or like that, but get back on. That's why when he's done riding,
you never ride.
He's a good parent. Right.
Yeah.
We were Navy SEALs because I wanted to be a rifle carrying medic, sniper, blah, 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 all the way across the board. Football players play football.
Right.
You know, guys on the team and whatever who play for the money, you can see the difference in them.
Oh,
and it's
for
when
sure.
they get their ass kicked and hurt, it doesn't matter.
No.
Because it's not about the win and loss. It's about being out in the battle. It's about being on the back of that animal.
But
right?
I'm going to challenge you though on this. I'm going to challenge both of you because I'll tell you what. I was a football player growing up, and I love athletics. That was my dream. But when I went on to become a Navy SEAL, it changed, right? Because there was the existential reality of death every single day. And there's, like you're saying, Tuff, there's a fuel in that. There's a drive, and it contorts, it literally alters the cultural influences you've had growing up and all those different things that normal society deems that, all right, you can't get in that arena because you might die. But now what we're hearing is from the age of 4, and when he first started riding, it's like that's the go. And like he said, every day he hopped on that bull, he knew he could die, but it didn't matter. It was the ride. It was
just everything about it. You know, for me, that's what I was, and that's where I wanted to be, and I didn't give a shit really about nothing else. And I always told my kids, and they're great kids. They're very well rounded. They're good at a lot of sports. And I said, if you want to do something, if you want to be great at something, then that's what you do. That's what you are. You're nothing else. It's like Walt Garrison was a
24/7
a cowboy. He played for the Dallas Cowboys, but he was a rodeo cowboy too, and he was one of the coolest guys I've ever met. Running back during the stallback whenever they were winning Super Bowls and playing golf with Walt Garrison in the charity tournament. He said, "You know what? Show me a good golfer." He said, "I'll show you a son of a bitch that can do nothing else." Well, exactly. Tiger Woods didn't do this, that, or the other. He played golf every day. That's all he was. Every day. That's why.
Yeah, that's true.
Great.
Yep.
And for me, that's all. Bull riding. That's all I thought about. Riding in Denver one night. Flying to Nashville the next afternoon. I'd get on. I had an airplane where I remember one day riding Cheyenne, Wyoming in the afternoon. Riding Rodeo Manhattan, Kansas that night, and be back in I'd be home in my bed in Bowie, Texas by midnight, and I'd be up the next morning early to fly somewhere else or another. Because whenever I was competing, for the first 10 years I competed, hell, I would go to 100 to 125 rodeos a year.
That's huge. What our listeners are wondering, right, is, and we get asked this all the time when we're out there speaking and doing what we do and all that. And I know you get that. Says, what made you want to become a Navy SEAL? What got into you? Or like, this is the life I have to live. What was the purpose, that ignition point for that purpose that drove you towards that life where that's all you wanted? Where did it start and why?
Born into it.
I was the youngest of 7 kids. I had great parents. But we were very, very average. My dad, worked 3 jobs, worked 7 days a week. Vacations were what other people did. We didn't go on vacation. And when we get out for summer, from the time I was 8 till I went to college, when we get out for summer, it wasn't vacation for us. We always had a job. I mean, our parents provided us a great, place to live and some clothes. If you want anything additional, you had to.
You better go earn it.
But the most important thing my parents taught us was work ethic and independent. Be able to take care of yourself, where you don't have to rely on, somebody else to take care of you. And so by the time I was 15 years old, I was living at home, but I was pretty much on my own, independent of my parents. Other than I still live there and they talk to me, but I never,
Right.
It was just my mentality. I say, they don't owe me anything. I don't expect them to give me money. Even on the days of college when you want to call home, hey, can you send me a couple $100? I just would never do that because it's not up to them to take care of me. It's up to me to take.
It's on me.
It's up to me to take care of me. And so just once I started riding when I was 4. And that's all I wanted to be. There was one other time whenever, I grew up around horse racing. The last 2 years I was in high school, I'd get up and go to work, and I would ride anywhere from 6 to 10 race horses, exercise and work them on the racetrack. And when I was 15, I was real small. I was 5'4", 110 pounds. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll get to be a jockey and ride races. And, jockeys that around horse racing, they're the rock stars, they're the SEALs, they're the cool guys. That's the people, they show up, and they're just cool. They always got them a sports car and a hot girl, and when you're a kid, that looks pretty neat.
Pretty good.
But anyway, I have heard that. But then, all I cared about, I didn't play other sports. All I wanted to do was ride, and I sucked for so long when I was young. I would get on and just get slam, but I just kept getting on. And when Mark's talking earlier, people think that they go into this gym and yada. And there's guys this sport has evolved guys are probably in better shape, nutrition. But I was never a big workout guy. I was always like, how good a shape do you have to be in? It's 8 seconds, But I was always in pretty good shape because riding racehorses got me in the best shape of my life. If you ever look at a jockey, he's toned, and you don't have a guy that.
Yeah.
And so that's what got me in the best physical shape, and I think it helped with my balance, and I think I probably did more from my bull riding. But riding racehorses, riding bulls, there's only one other experience that I have done that even compares to it. Is I got to fly an F-16 with the Thunderbirds.
Wow, that's cool. That's super
there
cool.
was nothing cooler than that.
It is cool.
It is.
And
cool.
the funny thing about it is I kind of like whenever I got to meet Marcus, I told him, I said, I've got to meet a lot of famous people, and I'm not a starstruck guy. I'm very I'm a fan of anyone who's successful because I know how hard it is to be successful at whatever you do.
Successful. Right.
But I'm not but
yeah.
But when I met Marcus, I was starstruck because when I read his book, when I read Lone Survivor, and I gave it to my son, and he read it, and I said every American should be mandatory that they read this.
Amen.
Because of the first part was the impressive, his story is just over the top, unbelievable. But what you have to do to become a Navy SEAL? Okay, you guys are the toughest, smartest son of bitches on the planet. There's no disputing that. I mean, the things that you have to endure. The shit I did was 8 seconds at a time. Hell, really? How it can't be that bad. But it's the same thing. There's no way that you can get to the level that you guys that unless that's what you are. You wouldn't say, well, I'm off for the weekend.
Everybody wants to be a frogman on Fridays.
When the weekend came, you were a SEAL on Saturday, you were a SEAL on Sunday, and when you wake up Monday, you're a SEAL.
Well, Tuff, one of the things when people are listening to the show and they're trying to figure out, your purpose was riding, right? You got on a horse and it clicked for you, and that was it. For us, it was finding the teams and allowing that to unlock our purpose. And so, one of the challenges out there is if people aren't exposed to a lot of outside things, it's challenging for them to find, because they're so inundated with fear and they're taught not to go out and fail and try new things and all that. What do you say to what's happening about, around people right now and in society and where we're going, man? I mean, how do we change that?
It's just crazy. I think, again, back to my kids, we try to shelter them too much, and, everybody's afraid of this and afraid of that. We were just raised in a different generation. It's just different. I'm sure, I know the toughness that I have. I got it from my parents because I seen it. My dad was this. My dad had 3 heart attacks in a week. Went to the hospital. They misdiagnosed it, and so, but he nearly died.
That's
and
hard.
So he gets to the hospital. The doctor says, "Hey, you're not doing very well." And this is what he tells the doctor. He said, "Well, I got to get out of here. I got to get back to work." The guy says, "Well, you're not going back to work." He said, "Yeah, I got to get back to work." He said, "No, sir, you don't understand. You're not even supposed to be alive. You had 3 heart attacks in a week." He said, "But I need to operate on you now." He said, "But you'll never make it because you're not strong. I have to get you strong enough so I can operate on you." So he waits they operate on. He nearly dies 3 times.
Wow.
They do all these bypasses. This for it. Gets out, and so he's talking to this guy. He's talking to this attorney about. The guy said, "Well, tell me what happened." He said, "Well, I had a little pain in my chest." And he said, "Well, how severe was it?" He said, "I wasn't that bad." He said, "I guess it'd be, somebody just, hit you in the chest with a baseball bat, something like that. But it wasn't bad, So
that's tough. That's hard as nails, right?
That was his mentality. He was just a tough, physically tough guy.
Hell, it ain't too bad. You ever been, you've been run by a dump truck?
It's not that bad.
I only had on my left side, and that's why but it's all right though.
I can still move my fingers.
And my mother's the same way. She's, just physically. She's 87. She drove to Lubbock yesterday. She drives by herself.
She had to deal with our dads. My mother's the toughest bitch I know. Don't disrespect Mom.
She had to have a surgery performed on her, and the doctor says, "Hey, this is really going to take it out of her. You're going to have to help her do everything for at least 2 or 3 days, and she won't be able to do anything on her own." If I'm sleeping in her room, this is the day they brought her back out of recovery about 5 or 6 o'clock. She goes to sleep, so I'm asleep. I hear this rattling around midnight. She's out of the bed, dragging her IVs. I say, "You need to help me?" And she's one of them. "No, do I look like I need any goddamn help? Leave me alone." And so she marches in there, goes to the bathroom, marches back, and they were just. They were a hell of a lot tougher than I was.
Cut from that cot.
And she also one other story about her. She says one day she said, "Hey, well, I got something going on with my gallbladder and whatever." I said, "Okay, well, just let me know if I need to do anything." About 3 weeks later, she calls me and said, "I got that gallbladder deal fixed." I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "Yeah." She was living in Albuquerque time. Her doctor's in Lubbock.
Right.
She drives to Lubbock by herself, goes in. The lady says, "Who's with you?" She said, "Nobody." Said, "Well, somebody has to be with you, take care of you after the surgery." Because they go and took her gallbladder out, day surgery, and let her go. So the nurse said, "Somebody has to be with you." She said, "No, they don't." The nurse said, "Yes, they do." She said, "No, goddamn it, they don't." and so the doctor comes in, and she's friends with the doctor, elderly guy, and he says, "Are you aware?" The nurse says, "Are you aware no one's with her?" And he kind of rolls his eyes and says, "Yes." The nurse said, "Well, what are you going to do?" She said, "Well, when I get out of here, I'm going to get a cab to the motel room, and then I'm going to get up in the morning and drive home." Well,
Awesome.
that's what she did, and wouldn't tell me or my sisters till it was over. Said,
That's
y'all
cool.
got very shit too. So now in that doctor's office, there's this big sign that says, they wouldn't, no procedure would be done unless you're accompanied by someone.
Right.
That's her sign.
That's awesome. That's
well, I
all.
mean, you got to understand. I mean, doctors these days, they hand out shit for colds.
Yeah.
Back in the day, man,
It's hard.
there was home remedies. You didn't go see the doctor unless you were jacked up. I mean, jacked up. And that's why that generation,
I grew up around horse racing, so we went to the vet. My dad's best friend was a veterinarian. When we were kids, we went to the vet.
Great doctor.
The kids go to the vet. The kids went to the vet.
I mean, yeah.
Well, here's what I love. Tough. That comes. We're gonna wrap this section off, and when we get into the after actions, we're gonna say the how to and the lessons that you're teaching your boys, the lessons those exact lessons, and that's good. So we really, Marcus and I just can't thank you enough for coming on, sharing your greatest never.
I knew it was gonna be good, man. We blew through that.
I mean, you called it. I mean, it was remarkable.
You touched everything.
You hit everything that our listeners need to hear, that they want to hear, and hopefully, and I know in my heart that your story is going to have an impact on a lot of people. Tough.
Oh, man.
Thank you so much, sir.
I'm honored to be on the show. It's a pleasure visiting with you guys. You guys are heroes to me. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Hope you had a fun. I had fun.
I had a ball. Let's get him in that after action. All right, so that's all we got. Thank you, sir. What I love about Tuff is his perspective on why he did it, right?
Right.
To be the best. I mean, imagine this, Marcus. I mean, it's like, we do incredible amount of runs. We do CQB. We'll go through a house, 20 runs in a day. But that, at a minimum, this guy is saying, all right, I'm going to run 10 bulls in a day.
Yeah, the great part about him is his unique perspective and how he chased all. He's like, I got in shape for bull riding bulls. No shit.
Yeah.
No, I mean, exactly. I mean, to a layman, that would make total sense. I mean, when you break everything down, not mechanical bulls, not the rope, not with the leather,
I wasn't in the gym.
I just made sense to me. Well, of course, it makes sense because it's ultimate logic.
And I think modern society, we confuse, we throw a lot of additional things in terms of performance that really don't need to be in the mix, right?
Sure, and I get why you don't do that is because injury, and I want to do this for a long time.
Okay.
But that wasn't even a matter of perspective to him.
No.
And he's got another thing about them boys who come up from nothing, all right? I mean, when he's like, hey, I just wanted to make something of myself.
We didn't have nothing.
Most people want to make something of themselves. They go to school, they get educated, they go, they go out into the world, and
right.
And there's no real. Look, man, walking out of the house is damn dangerous.
True, but real existential danger, right?
Right, exactly,
yeah.
On purpose.
Yeah,
purposely. Only the military and a handful of other
and riding 2,000-pound animals,
pissed off bull
with their balls on a string.
Right, and both of our careers started because we were there with our friends.
Yeah.
You just want to keep hanging out with them. And that's the same thing we talked about, man. You made sure you're the best you could be, or be the best, because your friends are the best.
Yeah.
And you want to hang out with them.
Yeah.
So I better learn how to ride this damn thing.
Well, and I want to ride it better than you.
Yeah, and if you're hanging out with, the one thing about teams, man, is that when we're hanging out with each other, we feed off of each other. We don't allow ourselves to go the other way.
No, mediocrity is not a part of the mindset.
And that's why we rotate the guys in and out of the platoons. And I used to always ask, like, why didn't we stack? Why don't we got all these awesome guys? Why don't we stack? I mean, because there's so many different faces in the platoons when we get back, especially from, they separate us. And I'm like, why do you do that? I didn't really learn until I was in a leadership role. I was like, hey, look, man.
The younger guys got to learn.
Right. And that's, each one of these guys has a strength that the platoon needs that one of the other guys doesn't have.
Yep.
I mean, the way I was raised is the same way we roll in the teams, man. And when you look at it like that, when you step back and like, all right, man, what is this guy capable of? What can he do? He can do that. And this one, he can't. I wasn't a breacher. I was a medic.
Yep.
So all that comes into play. And that's the same thing. I mean, we try so hard to stay online to do that because we want to hang out with them guys. And ultimately, that's what it starts.
Well, it's the culture of friendship. It's the culture that where Tuff came from. The culture of wanting to be the best, that drive, that never quit mindset that we were able to hear. And I think one of the things, the lessons for you out there listening right now, when you think about it, you don't have to have the perfect environment, the background. What you have to have is a passion that launches you, a dream. then you have to have the desire to work harder than everybody else. And to do so with a group of people around you that challenge you and push you to that next level. And once you get there, to stay there, no matter what happens, no matter if your face gets smashed in, no matter if you almost get killed in a particular environment, you get back up on that bull, you throw your hand in there, you cinch it down harder than everybody else, and you go for the ride.
Right. I mean, to look at it from the perspective of a fan of anything. I mean, football, for example. There's the fanatical football fans, and there's a reason why we love football. It brings us together as a community when we go to the stadium or in the house at a party watching a game on Sunday or something like that.
Right.
Rodeo is a way for country folks who've been doing this their whole lives, and so is their family, right? They all love that, and it's a kind of a dynamic where you get to hang, because they love hanging out with each other. That's the beautiful part about it. And then you watch the rodeo go down. There's more going on around the rodeo than there is in the particular arena.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you've seen that.
State fairs, everything like that.
And that's it's community getting together. And this is one of the things that the way we grew up out here, we like doing. And it's an ultimate test.
It is one of the coolest things. I love having Tuff on. He really represents that never quit spirit to reach the pinnacle of his profession, coming from nowhere, doing the things that he loves doing, and really, becoming that special man. And I think one of my favorite parts, I know you and I were thinking the same thing, is that fact that he's got that little baby right now at 50 plus years old, man.
I think he's gonna have a lot of fun with that.
Oh, he's in a whole new chapter of his life to take all those experiences, put them into that child, so that child not only is going to be tough like Tuff, but also going to be incredibly wise and blessed in his life.
Well, he's got the grandfather mentality too.
Yeah.
And what kid doesn't like to hang out with his granddad because of the way they are, they act, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they teach you the things to do. They let you get hurt when you need to get hurt, and they'll jerk a knot in your ass quick. Right? Everybody knows grandparents, man. They don't mess around
at all.
I mean, I truly believe that even the millennial generations, man, when they become grandparents and they grow up, when you're a grandparent and it's that generation removed to your, when you have your grandchildren in there, you watch over and protect. Great part, you can give them back. That's what Mom always said, right? But you don't take shit.
No.
And that only comes from being around a long time, right?
Being around a long time.
Yeah,
I love it.
That ain't happening in this house.
I love it.
Yep.
So there you have it, folks. Thank you so much for coming on board on this ride with Tuff Hedeman, the world's greatest cowboy, the Michael Jordan of the rodeo world. I think we learned a great lesson. Now, if you're inspired and you're really excited about what you heard and fired up, and and that's our mission. We want to ignite the fire in your gut to get out there and go start living your greatest never to quit story. And if you want to know more or visit us, please don't forget to visit and listen to the rest of the shows at teamneverquit.com/podcast or tnqpodcast.com, where you can visit and see all our other shows. Go check out our merchandise. We've got great, cool t-shirts. We got great stuff there for you to take a look at. We've got a host of amazing, if you have a company, a small business, a big business, if you got a team, check out the Team Never Quit speakers. We've got a whole host of great people that can come and motivate, inspire, and teach your teams and groups how to never quit themselves. And if you're, what we're looking for out of you, really the give back to us. If you have a great never quit story yourself, go to the website, submit that never quit story to us. We'll take a look at them. We'll review them. If they're good, there's a chance Marcus and I will read it on the air. And if they're really good, I mean exceptional, there's a real good chance that, Marcus, what are we going to do?
Bring them on the show.
You're going to come on the show with us.
Look in your eyes.
You're going to either call in or come on, and you're going to tell your story. We're going to interview you, and we're going to want to hear it. So don't forget to do that. Well, I always love to end every show, Marcus, as you do too, with a thank you. So in my life, I want to thank all y'all here at the Team Never Quit podcast group. Wizard, you, Marcus. I want to thank my teammates in the past, my friends, my family, and in particular, I just want to thank all the people that I've seen that were able to get back up on that bull, like Tuff. Thank you, Tuff, and get back in a fight. And my last one is just thank God for giving me that inspiration as well, too. Marcus?
Thank the good Lord for putting me down here, giving me all my abilities, to my friends and teammates for helping me find them. And the boss lady for marrying me and giving giving me this wonderful life that we have right now, and everybody out there who's listening, and hopefully taking something away from this, and taking something away from what Tuff said, that it's the simple things in life that are the most important. Anything worth doing is worth overdoing, and love every day like it was the last one, I think, is probably a good way to sum him up, right?
Amen.
Yeah, so thanks again. God bless. We're out.
We're out.